Good evening, cult members, and welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
No technology issues, yay!
Yay!
Welcome to our Welcome to our discussion, review, and reaction to what we just watched on the Acolyte, episode 3, and this one was called Destiny.
He's all choked up about it.
Old age. I choke on the random stuff now. It could have been a bug. I mean, it is summer in Arizona.
I swallowed a bug.
Okay. This was a very interesting choice for the third episode. To have a flashback episode instead of waiting to tell May and Osha's story.
Yeah.
Like on episode 5.
Yeah.
Where we've had some time with them. This was a very interesting point to have the third episode. May's already killed. Spoilers for the show, by the way. May's already killed two of the 4 Jedi who showed up.
Right.
At this coven.
Right.
Of Force witches, which we'll get into that because some people are going to have some problems with that too. But I think it's a bold choice. Cotton.
I think so. As somebody with no idea, technically, of what's going on at this time,
right.
At this point in time,
right.
But somebody who knows more than probably the average person, I feel like they're really ramping up May is evil, May is evil, May is evil. She's always been evil, like from the beginning.
She definitely trends that way.
Yeah, I mean she's nasty to her twin, to her sister.
Yeah.
And we've had her. She's killed 2 Jedi, and now the third episode is her being, a little jerk to her sister, and I mean, like over the top. Not even just. I mean, they look like they're maybe 8 or 9.
They're supposed to be 8. At this
okay,
point in time,
so not even like typical 8-year-old temper tantrum.
Yeah,
she is evil.
Yeah.
Or at least comes across like that. And so I feel like, because, we have thoughts that the Jedi might not have done this and May might not have done this.
That was the first thing I said at the end of the episode.
Or they did. The Jedi did, and May didn't. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel like where we're going is that May didn't actually do it, but it's like if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck, right?
Right.
And so
right.
they're making you feel like May is just this evil person. She was an evil child, she's an evil adult, and so you can believe that she did it.
Yeah. I'm all choked up about this episode. They definitely want you to Leslie Headland and the writers of this show definitely want you to think May did this. It's all about May. That's all they talked about in the first 2 episodes too, is that May started the fire. May was the reason why they all died. The coven died. But
Sun is like kind of got this weird Sun. It's Soul.
It's the same thing.
Soul has this weird vibe about him, about what happened.
Yeah.
And then the Padawan.
Torben.
Torben. Is that his name in this show? Master Torben?
Yeah, Master Torben.
Wasn't he Torben in? No, that was somebody else in Game of Thrones.
Yes, the Torben name was used in
Tomlin.
Tomlin.
Can we get the boy a different name?
He's gonna be Jeff in the next one.
Bob.
Bob.
He like obviously has gone through before he died. I mean, he took the poison.
Yeah, yeah. He took the Bashana, which is the self-imposed Jedi exile.
Right.
And then he took the
And
for
then
10
he took it
years.
for 10 years,
Yeah.
yeah. And, he...
Don't you have to pee really bad?
The force. You force it out of yourself and over there. I don't
The
know.
Force will provide.
I don't know. So, yeah, people have got some guilty consciences, maybe?
Yeah. And after the fire, in this episode, the Jedi, let's talk about, okay, there's, the more I think about it, the more there's like layers and layers of the show.
It's an onion.
That's what they said. Like
Parfait.
every episode was its own self-contained story that will give you more information for the overall mystery of what is going on.
Okay.
And so this one raised a ton more questions than actually answered.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Other than we know kind of where the girls came from.
Right.
But
I should have wrote down the name of the planet, but I didn't.
But you don't know, like through the whole episode, we were like, okay, did they steal them? Was it some sort of immaculate conception? Because there are no men in this coven.
Yeah.
It kind of seemed like their mother magicked babies into her partner.
Yeah.
And that's how they were born.
Yeah.
Which is weird for the girls because now they're just little balls of magic.
They're made from clay. I read something this afternoon before the episode dropped that there would be something that happened in this episode that could possibly break the fandom. And my initial thought was they presented a coven of witches, not the Night Sisters. So, another form of witchcraft in Star Wars. Okay, that doesn't really break the Star Wars thought process.
Right.
The
there's
theory
one
of Star Wars.
coven, there's other covens.
There's other covens. And then I thought about, we brought up the Immaculate Conception kind of thing that she did. Well, that's also been done in the comic issue 25. It's right there. I have it double signed, by the way, too. That's the issue that Palpatine comes out and said he Force created Anakin into Shmi.
Okay, and that was
kind of how it was
an
presented.
Immaculate Conception.
Yeah.
She said there was no man. She just was pregnant.
Right. So that doesn't necessarily break
right
the idea of Star Wars because we've discussed this in the past. So I'm trying to think of what else it could be. And you said something, and now I forgot what it was that kind of
force witchcraft babies into.
Yeah, but they've done that kind of.
They're little balls of magic force.
Balls of magic poo of clay. But I just. It'll come back around to me because you said something and it sparked an idea in my head, and I wanted to explain how I kind of got there, and then I forgot what the spark was. Welcome to the show.
By the time I got back around to it, I had forgotten what I
was going to say. But there are things that does challenge Star Wars regular run-of-the-mill, not deep in the weeds like some of us Star Wars people. The Immaculate Conception of Anakin is talked about in the comics. Of all the platforms that there are out there, the movies and the TV shows and the books and the comics is like the lowest rung of things.
But again, like you said, they alluded to it in Phantom Menace.
Right. So that right, and then but the girls themselves are almost two sides of the same coin, and that's kind of what the
Yeah, and I was thinking about that with May being so evil that
I I I I, I wouldn't necessarily say she's evil, Sith evil, whatever, dark side, whatever at this point, but she's not a good person.
right, but she is again back to her age, right? There's
Right.
the whole
Right.
nature versus nurture, and most of the time serial killers aren't born that way. They
Right.
are,
Right.
there can be some mental, I don't want to say defect, but like almost like a chemical imbalance or
Right,
whatever, or
right,
they don't have a
right.
high IQ, and then they come from an abusive home. So an 8-year-old that appears to come from this loving family. I mean, her other mother, I guess, that she never really calls her anything, but her other mother, wants to be stricter with them,
Right.
but their head priestess mom is
Mother Anastasia.
okay. So she is very, I wouldn't say coddling, because she does, like, she force pushes them down when
Yeah,
they
yeah.
won't behave and stuff, but she's gentler, and so there's just nothing kind of from this upbringing that would make you think that this child would be bad, would be
Yeah.
evil, and she is.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, she's pretty evil
She
for an
threatens to kill
8-year-old.
May threatens to kill Osa for wanting to leave.
Osha,
I
yeah.
almost got there. But she threatens,
And then she said, well,
and then she sets her notebook on fire, which had the she was drawing
drawings,
on it, which
yeah.
was the one page they showed was the Jedi symbol.
yeah. And she, kept saying, "You're not going to leave. You're not going to leave." And I don't know. It was more, to me, it felt more than just a child saying, "I don't want to be separated from you." Like, she just bossed her around in other
Yeah.
situations. She,
Yeah.
she was like, "I don't want to do this ascension thing," and she's like, "You're gonna do it.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to."
Yeah.
That's it. So.
Yeah. It's the idea of the Jedi 2 showing up and kind of forcing their own agenda on people who are outside of the Republic. We have the right to test your children to see if they have the ability to become Jedi.
Yeah, that was pretty.
That's the arrogance of the Jedi presented here, but really is how we get to a Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
That time period of the prequel era where the Jedi are so set in their ways that this is the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Having the conversation that there's another way of looking at the Force too. Mother Anastasia shows the thread of the Force. It's not that they don't call it the Force, but she mentions the Force. That some call it the Force, but it's the thread that connects us together. And you can, one thread is, strong on its own, but more threads are stronger together. We're stronger together. Like that whole conversation. It's a very new concept for those who have not been in the weeds of the book side of Star Wars, because they've spent a lot of time in the books, both in the High Republic, the prequel era, and the original trilogy era, talking about there's other versions of the Force other ways of looking at the Force than just what the Jedi are.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they're talking about when they show up, is the Jedi are presenting that there's only one way to look at the Force.
Yeah.
And it's the warrior monk thing has always been talked about with the Jedi, and the idea that the Jedi are monk-like priest-like in their actions has been how they were coded from jump. That was something that George Lucas did on purpose. And to have this idea that this is the only way that you can see this thing and only we can be the ones who can use it is very Catholicism.
I was going to say it's very religion. I wouldn't well, I mean Catholicism very specifically, but
right.
But Christianity in general doesn't think that any other religion is, you're not going to heaven if you're, Jewish or Buddhist or Muslim or Wiccan or, you're all, but technically you're all kind of tapping into the same thing, whether it, I haven't died recently, so I can't say for sure, but whether you're all actually...
I've been mostly alive all day.
You're all actually tapping into God or, the force of the earth, like Mother Earth or or some force out there in the universe. There are religions who feel that their religion is the only one that can see that.
And I like that they're spending time on the third episode of having this conversation, because it's so important that people who are Star Wars fans, but again, not deep in the weeds of everything else, that the Jedi are flawed at this point in time, and they wave their power around in everybody's faces like it's it's their right to.
Yeah,
and
we were chosen by the Force, except you weren't, because there's all these other people out there doing it their way,
using it their way, and I love that they back to the conversation of how we started with the idea that doing a flashback in the third episode to ultimately not necessarily just tell May and Osha's story, although that is highly important because they are the main characters of this show,
right?
But also the underlying hubris of the Jedi, that the underlying thought process of the coven, that they were forced away. They were in exile. They were the Israelites, leaving Egypt. All that kind of stuff. So they found a place, but they don't have the next generation.
Right.
So they created these children to kind of be their next generation, to lead them to. They didn't say promised land, but lead them into the future.
Yeah.
And in that process, you get. I will bring up the dyad and the Force because it's the closest parallel that we have to this within Star Wars as I can see it in my head right now. The idea of Rey and Ben being connected by the Force, and one pulled from one direction by the dark side by Snoke and Palpatine and all that kind of stuff and whatever, and the other didn't know her true calling until she got the call. A
little later in life.
Where does Luke's lightsaber come from? That's a different story for a different time. Can we get back around that? But they are connected through the Force. Same coin, two different sides.
Right.
And that's how May and Osha are being... Osha. I've been... that's how they are being presented here.
Yeah.
You have one who is ready for adventure, who knows that there's more to the universe than just this one planet with a bitchin' tree.
Yeah.
And you have the other who is set... It's almost set in her ways by the time she's 8, that this is the only way to view the world, and I will do everything in my power to stop you. Not that she's totally Sith, although we probably will get that kind of conversation further down the line. But they're just having this conversation of Mother Anastasia, I can say her name right.
Second time around.
maybe she tapped into something without knowing it. That she tapped into part of the Force. The Force brings balance.
Right. I mean,
The Force wants balance. They don't bring balance. The Force wants balance.
She Force made these children, so
Yeah.
and they're twins, so it makes all the sense in the world that one would be, I don't want to say good and one would be bad, but that's one tends to the light side and one tends to the dark side.
Yeah.
I was also just thinking about, now I forgot what it was. Oh, when the Jedi show up, they tell them it's illegal to perform the rites on children. Is that
Right.
how they put it?
Something along that line, yeah.
Except Soul said, I became a Padawan, or I was taken into the Jedi when I was 4.
Yeah.
So
eight is very old for.
but that's like Hippocratic
That's
hypocrisy.
oath that they have to
Hypocrisy much? There we go.
Hippopotamus.
Hippopotamus. Okay, you're not performing a ceremony, but I didn't see, like, they ramped that ascension or whatever it was. They called it up. Like, I thought they were gonna have to hold everybody off, like she was showing them in the training and everything. And then they just say yes and they get this little swirly thing on their head.
I think the swirly, again, no basis of knowledge. This is something brand new. Nothing is connected to this other than there's characters from the High Republic. Like there's no whatever.
Yeah.
But because Mother Anastasia has the big spiral on her head, and May gets the smaller one, it almost feels like the passing of knowledge. And even in her speech, she kind of says, "You're going to protect us and do whatever." And then she turns to Osha, and she's like, "You're going to be the knowledge," and like she's passing the knowledge, her abilities, her knowledge onto the two of them, and that they will now that they've got this, because they show the Force, they show the particles of the string. They make a point of like we never see the Force. We never visualize the Force when the Jedi use it, and so it's
I felt like it was almost like a branding. I mean, it didn't seem to hurt them, but when you think about it, I don't remember seeing it on anybody else except
and it's a coven of different races of women,
but they should all have, like, if the head mother gets the big one and all of the other members of the coven get the smaller one to kind of mark that they are part of this family or whatever.
That's why I was saying I think that is the symbol that she has. She embodies the whatever they call the Force within the coven.
Yeah, maybe.
When May sets the book on fire, and Osha, if I just say it slowly, I'm okay. She looks out the window when she realized that May locked the door on her and all this stuff, and then she turns back around, and the whole door frame is on fire.
Yeah,
and she
aren't you in a stone building?
Right, but she takes a screwdriver out, unlocks this panel that opens, like, it looks like maybe it was a breezeway that they used to use as little girls, and kind of there was drawings on the cave walls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she got out to the main reactor room, where I'm assuming where all the power for their little fortress was coming from.
Yeah.
And then they were on the opposite sides of each other, Osha and May, and Soul shows up. And he tries to save May because she falls first, and he wasn't able to save her with the Force, but he was able to grab Osha's hand and save her. And then as they leave, all of the coven is laying down, like assuming that they've all been killed, including Mother Anastasia.
Right.
So
they weren't burned up.
They weren't burned up. There was no blood. Now, it's Star Wars. There's never blood. there was no obvious scorch marks from like a firefight,
Right.
like where blasters were going off, and
Right.
Soul was the only one there.
Yeah.
At least the
And
way
they
they
weren't
presented it.
cut in half or whatever that you would expect from a
Right,
lightsaber.
and some of them were in piles together, like in groupings together,
Yeah.
other than the Mother Anastasia. So that was why the first thing I said is I don't think the Jedi did anything.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I don't think, because the only thing I could think of is like he killed them, force pushed them, but they all
have the force,
too.
right?
So
and he has been presented as very wise soul, very cautious soul, very caring soul.
Yeah.
He was the one who went to Osha, showed him his lightsaber, kind of gave him the speech about I was 4 when they took me, and I found that there was thousands of children that were like me. Like, he was very caring. So I don't think that he was the type of Jedi like Yord, who's quick on the draw, ready to go to battle whenever there's something that doesn't go his way.
Right.
Soul doesn't present that way. So I'm questioning it. I don't think Soul did that. Yeah. I now wonder, wild speculation, I now wonder if they did it, if the Coven did it on purpose.
Yeah, like a whole Jim Jones scenario.
Or made it look like they had all been cut down.
Oh, and weren't
They're actually alive.
Alive.
So the reason I bring that up is because I have IMDb up. Now, IMDb is not a reliable source when it comes to stuff like this. Because Amanda List Amberg says that she's in 8 episodes. She was not in this episode at all.
Right.
And there's only 8 episodes total.
Right.
So I'm not going to take this as a for sure, cut and dry, whatever. But Jodie Turner-Smith, who plays Mother Anastasia, says she's in 6 episodes.
Yeah.
They're not going to do another flashback. They did their flashback. We've set up why Osha and Soul became together. We got Torben and Inara and Kalnaka all there. Osha going over and watching Kalnaka work on the speeder, like showing that she had the mechanics in her head already.
Yeah.
Like, kind of thing. So that whole, I wonder if there's a possibility that they faked their own death to make the decision for Osha easier to leave, and in the process they lost May.
Maybe.
Because May went back to the tree looking for her sister.
Yeah.
Where she found her at the beginning of the episode, and she wasn't there.
Yeah.
And then they didn't show May going back to the compound.
Yeah, I mean, but May easily could have, and just in her mind, like, she holds the Jedi that were there responsible.
Yeah.
Not for, because she hasn't, I don't think she's come right out and said, you're responsible for my family dying when they...
Right, right.
She did say to, I don't remember, Carrie Indara. She did say to her when Indarna said, Jedi don't strike first or something like that. She said that's not true.
Right.
But she could, in her mind, just hold them responsible for Osha leaving, not necessarily because they killed her family.
Yeah.
But because of them, she left. If they hadn't have been there, she would have had the ceremony. She would have been forced to stay.
Yeah.
Because it would have been over. But they showed up when they did. They had an exit, a way for her to get off the planet.
Yeah.
And
Soul
Soul
even says May started a fire.
She did.
Continuing, like, right, but not a fire big enough in a stone building to take out an entire generator and everybody else.
Right.
There was no smoke. There was fire, but there was no smoke. So I'm trying to like find some like reason why all of a sudden all of these people are dead.
Yeah.
Now, wild speculation. Is whoever this Sith person in the helmet is, whoever that is the one who killed the coven. Or the coven called them to come, and after Osha left and everything happened and May comes back to the coven, they take, I don't know, it's a guy, girl, whatever, they take May and lead her down the path of dark side training.
Right,
Sith
and
training.
she could have just been too much for the coven to handle at that point, right? She may have, because the yin without the yang, or the black without the white, or whatever. Now she's just there by herself, and she's mad. She's angry that Osha's gone. So she may have just become too much for them, and they were just like, here. Want a child? Thanks.
Yeah. It just
especially the other mom, because she was.
Yes.
I mean, not that she didn't love them, but she was definitely
the hard ass.
The strict mom.
Strict dad.
The strict dad.
The strict dad in the relationship. Yeah. To not to make it any other thing, but other than like she's a strict parent, and Anastasia was the loving mother and stuff like that.
Yeah.
One of the things I did want to talk about was kind of the reaction after last week's episodes. I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes on this because it's something that has to be part of the conversation, and that is the Rotten Tomatoes score. We don't believe in Rotten Tomatoes around here. It's a hot dumpster fire of a mess. They need to fix their system because, again, of something like this that happened. Critic score is 93 or something like that, the Acolyte was review bombed at like 20% before an episode had even been screened at premieres. Because it is a mostly woman, mostly people of color cast. And so this week there has been just some people have been trying to have this continuous conversation that obviously the show is not good because the Rotten Tomatoes score, the fans' Rotten Tomatoes score is like, I think it raised up to 35% or whatever.
Do you understand how Rotten Tomatoes works?
Right. So, but what has happened is...
What happened
is that the tried and the true Star Wars fans who may have some issues with a thing but still love Star Wars, have circled the wagons and told them to F off.
Good.
And everybody that, some people whose whole identity is talking about the negative things that happen in pop culture and all of that, have been trying to rile up this conversation. And for the most part, what I have seen is the fandom coming around and saying Rotten Tomatoes does not make me like or not like this show.
Yeah.
Any more or less.
Yeah.
And it is, I may have editing issues, or I may have writing issues, and part of the reason why I started the conversation with a flashback in the first and the third episode, like some people are going to bump up against that.
Maybe, yeah.
And so having that kind of conversation, like, hey, this seems a little weird, to do it here instead of further down the line where the formula says it's the episode 6.
Right.
So that's a viable conversation.
Right. You can have those conversations. You can say, I didn't like this, or I don't understand this choice, or whatever. But, the fans aren't the ones who death threat the people that are in the shows. And they're just not fans at all. And I think that the only way that, because Star Wars is notorious for having horrible fans, and I don't think that's necessarily true. I just think there's a few really loud a-holes out there who claim to be fans, but they're obviously not, but get on this because it gets them clicks or views or whatever.
Yep. They've monetized hate.
Right. Yeah. Huh. In 2024? What?
In this economy?
In this economy? Yeah. And the only way to fix that is for the actual Star Wars fans to continue to do that and circle the wagons and say this one person does not speak for the rest of us.
A lot of the problem, and I've been faulty of this in my past too, is I'm enraged by what those people are saying. So the thing that I do is go after them.
Right, but you're just acknowledging their existence.
But because of that, because the way the algorithm is set up with Meta and Twitter and YouTube and all that kind of stuff, is people see that there's engagement with that kind of conversation and not actually seeing what the conversation is. This is part of my discussion that I'm having about AI. AI only sees that there's discussion about people not liking Acolyte and not actually having so they run that algorithm and they run a thing, and AI turns around and starts promoting, here's this article saying a bad thing, or here's a website that uses shoddy language to get you to click on the article, so now that's going to be promoted, even though the article is like, we really like the episode, but because the header on the thing makes you click on something because you want to defend the thing that you love.
Yeah, and it's clickbait,
and it's totally clickbait, but it's just I'm finding that instead of engaging with that person in saying you're full of boo, or I want to swear so bad, you're full of bull,
or boo,
whatever. It's more the conversation is, here's what I really liked. I have the questions about this, and this, and I'm looking for that, and so I'm finding that, and so that's a little bit different conversation.
You can't let these people live rent free in your head, and in your cyber cloud.
Yeah, and that's on us as. I don't want to say true fans because that has a different connotation too. True fans are do you know what the TK743
just as fans.
As fans.
I get it that things make you angry, but you have to...
Yeah.
And I think I've been saying this to you for a while, but you have to just disengage. You've got to just... If it's all anger and hate over here, it sucks. I'm going to go over here and play in my little sandbox where it's rainbows and unicorns.
What did Rose Tico tell Finn? That's how we're going to win. Not fighting what we hate, but protecting what we love.
Right. Yeah.
And that's it. Star Wars, hey, guess what? Star Wars has a bunch of lessons in it.
What?
Maybe some of you have missed some of those lessons.
What?
That's why we're here to have those conversations. I'm sure I'm going to think about what probably is going to be the thing that breaks Star Wars fans somewhere down the line. But if we do, we'll pop back on and do another video. But we almost went as long as the episode. And it's not 2 hours like Force Center's going to go. Just saying. So let us know what you thought of our discussion of the Acolyte episode 3 called Destiny. We even get into Destiny. Like Mother Anastasia was saying that this is your destiny to be the.
I mean, but that was the origins of their destiny. You're going to go off and be on the dark side, and you're going to go off and be on the light side.
But then Osha is running around drawing the Jedi symbol, so maybe that's her destiny. Let us know what you thought of our discussion in the comments down below. Please be nice, like we were just saying. Protect what we love. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and follow us on all the social media stuff: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Links in the description down below. And until next time, cult members, for light and life.